Bore da pawb. Hello everybody, welcome to my Wild Welsh Garden. I'm back again. I have said a few times that I don't like autumn, and it's not actually because I don't like autumn, it's because I don't like what it leads to, which is winter, when the weather's so bad and it's cold and it's miserable, and yeah, when you're on your own it's not much fun really. And the thing is that if you're a conventional gardener, autumn is the time to be rearranging your borders. So this is the time for getting new plants in so they can become established before the winter. And so, of course, in the olden days, that's what I would have been doing. I'd have been, tidying up and sorting out and moving things and putting new things in. And I feel like I'm kind of sitting on my hands, that if I do that, I'm going to be spoiling things for the creatures over the winter. And I got up this morning and, I was just feeling enormously fed up and looking out of the window at this lovely day and thinking, well, I really need to make the most of it. I really wish I could get out and do some gardening. And and then my eyes lit upon a conifer, which is just behind me here. So I'll turn you around and I'll tell you the story. So I bought this little conifer as a Christmas tree that first Christmas I was here, so 6 years ago, and it was about half the size, and it was just the right size for my little cottage. So yeah, I had it as a Christmas tree that year, kept it in a pot, had it as a Christmas tree the next year, and then I thought I would plant it out, because one of the things about a conventional garden is to have sort of winter structure, evergreens, which had a bit of interest during the winter when everything else has died down. And I thought, well, that will just do as that. It can go in that bed and sort of be a focal point. But it's got bigger, and it's now, I think, too big really for what I wanted it for originally. Last year I thought I would trim it, and I didn't. And this year I was thinking I would trim it, and then I was looking at it this morning and I was thinking, it doesn't actually need to be there. I could actually take it out. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. Because as you know, the plan for these beds is to have more natives. And this is the bed that I've got quite a few natives in already. Yes. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to do, because I do have some plants that could go in. So I've just collected a few up and put them on the breakfast table in the secret garden. So I've got some red campion there and knapweed, and I did think that this was field scabious, but I'm actually thinking now it might be devil's bit scabious. And all those I've grown from seed. There's some more of the purple toad flax. There's an achillea there. And this is called, narrow-leaved everlasting pea. Now, I didn't grow that. I bought that from the Celtic Wildflowers down the road. And that is the favoured sort of pollen and nectar food plant of the shrill carder bee, which is I think they did say it was the rarest bee in Britain. But there are some populations around here, extraordinarily, mostly down Neath Port Talbot by the steelworks there. So yeah, hope springs eternal. And these are, I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they have a big sort of orange dandelion-like flower. They're very tall, and I'm not sure whether they'll do anything, because I actually gathered them from the chalk grassland above Portsmouth last year, and they just sat there. They grew like that, and then they've just sat there in those pots all summer and haven't moved. So I thought, well, they're not going to do anything there, so I'll plant them out and see what happens. So yeah, I'm going to plant those today, if I can get that tree out. So there's the conifer that's coming out, and I think the first thing I'm going to do is chop all the branches off, and that will make it easier. And next to it is a little bay tree. Well, this isn't native, but it's a nice little tree, and I can use the leaves for cooking. So I'm going to try and relocate it into a pot, and it can go into the container garden. Okay, so I've cut the branches off the conifer, and I've got a trug full of branches there to go into the dead hedge. And I've sort of been toying with the idea of making a lollipop, but I don't think so. I don't think I want a lollipop really. And I've dug up the little bay tree, and it's got quite a substantial root on it, so I think that should survive. And I've found an old galvanised bucket to put it in, and it's actually quite a heavy bucket. So I've got some polystyrene instead of crocks, because crocks will make it very heavy for me to lift. So yeah, I'm going to put the little bay tree into the pot with some more compost. So there's the bay tree all potted up. My trouble with growing things in pots is that I forget to water them and to feed them. Well, it's been fine this year. I haven't needed to water anything. But in a normal year, I do have to remember to water things, and I do tend to forget. I can feed it quite easily because down there is a wormery, so I collect the tea from that. But then the trouble is I forget what I gave the tea to last time, because there's not enough to feed everything, and so I think some of these things get overfed and some of them get underfed. But I don't know, it's difficult to remember everything, isn't it? Anyway, bay trees like to be in a sheltered place, and they do like a bit of sunshine, but they are okay in semi-shade. So I'm not sure I'm going to keep it here, but this is as good a place as any for now. Haven't actually tackled digging up the conifer yet. Still toying with the idea of a lollipop. Still not entirely sure. But it's actually 11's time, so I'm going to go and make a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go and sit on that seat in the sunshine and drink a cup of coffee. So see you in a minute. That's better. So it's gone. I decided I didn't want a lollipop, and so the conifer's gone, and it's in the wheelbarrow, along with the perennial nasturtium, Mashua, I think it is, that kind of came up with it, but really hasn't done anything this year at all. The weather's just been too bad. And so what's left, I'm going to leave, because these are all the native plants. This is the purple toadflax and the wild carrot and the sneezewort and the field scabious. There's also a lemon balm in there. Well, lemon balm isn't native to the UK, but it does grow in the wild. And there's another one over there. And then this here is golden oregano. The oregano is running along the edge of the flower bed here. But this is a catmint, which I put in this year and for the bees, and it really hasn't enjoyed life at all. And then around the edge here, there's a cultivated marjoram, which is not native, but it does have flowers that the bees love, and they're still visiting these few flowers here. And then there's a geum, which has lovely flowers, and then we come to the sneezewort. And then along the edge here is the bird's foot trefoil. And there's lots of self-seeded forget-me-nots around the place that I've left as well for next spring. And then there's two plants here that I'm going to leave. I've left the foliage on just to remind me that what they are, and so I didn't dig them up and think, oh, I wonder what that was. But this one is an Astrantia major, I think, so that can stay. And this is a campanula. I'd love to have more campanulas, bellflowers in the garden, but unfortunately they are very high on the slug list of plants that they love. So yes, I have put several in, but this is the only one that survived. So fingers crossed, it'll have a better year next year, but I'm going to leave it where it is. I'll probably cut them down and tidy them up a bit because they do look awful. But yeah, but I've got a nice patch of bare ground to plant those native plants that I showed you earlier. But that's for after lunch, I think. It's lunchtime. So the way that I work is do a bit of work and then sit a bit and then do a bit more and sit a bit more. So yeah, I get there in the end, but sometimes it does take me all day and sometimes several days, but that's okay. Lots of rose hips in the garden to provide food for the birds over the winter. There are quite a few insects around in the garden. There's bees and there's little hoverflies, which on the whole are too quick for me to film. And there's still a few butterflies. That was a small white, but I've also seen peacocks and a red admiral. There's still a few insects on the ivy. Not nearly as many as there were a couple of weeks ago, but there's still one or two. And when you think of how much rain we've had, how important it is that these little creatures have somewhere to hide away and protect themselves from the bad weather, it's really important that we don't tidy up too much and we give them somewhere to hide. So that's what it looks like now. The conifer's gone. And there are all the little plants planted. I feel as though I've been kind of misleading you a bit recently because I said I wasn't going to post quite so often and I've carried on making videos, and I said I wasn't going to do anything to these beds until next spring, and I've just dug half of one up. But I think we're all agreed that wild gardening isn't about not doing any gardening, isn't about just leaving the garden and not intervening at all. But it's about intervening differently and maybe at different times and in different ways. Well, I'm going to NEP, not next week, but the week after. They're running a series of workshops in the garden there about maintaining a wild garden. So I'm very excited to go and see the garden and to learn how they look after it, and I'm excited to share that with you. Hope I'll be allowed to film, so I'd like to do that and share what I learn there. So this is the last of the nice days, I think. I think the weather's turning tomorrow. The wind is certainly getting up. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me in my Wild Welsh Garden. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow me and see the next exciting instalment of my garden wilding adventure. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hwyl fawr!